Yeah, characters, well, maybe I should do a spoiler warning. Spoiler warning, I'm gonna talk about, like, basically, like, the whole game from Chain Echoes, so, yeah, clueless. Telio, I'd probably recommend playing it, but it is kind of a long game. But, apart from that, characters, they are by far my favorite part about a video game, so why not rank them, because I'm bored. So yeah, they're going to be in alphabetical order, and they won't be in order until the end, because I don't care enough. So, let us begin, though, once I've let it, my mind fester a little bit after beating the game. It's definitely has changed. But let's start with characters first of all. Amelia, I would say Amelia isn't like because I do like her little quirk of like not having good social skills and whatnot. It's just funny. Or at least I find it more like a bit endearing. Where it's like, good job, Amelia. That was a good compliment. It's like, that's kind of like, it's cute to say the least. Ariella is neutral purely for the fact of like, she's a character that's not used too often, to say the least. It's like, I probably would put her in no opinion, honestly, because I actually don't have too much to talk about, but she is relevant for Raphael. Actually, no. There was a point in where, actually, no, there was a scene that I actually kind of found cute, which is why she's there. It's because she was, trying to help Raphael live, or find a will to live. And that time where she, like, lost the, dropped a little water, that was kind of cute. So yeah, that's probably why she gets in there. She avoided the no opinion. Bartholomew is neutral. Bartholomew is probably, I'll get to Glenn when I'll get to Glenn, is the best way to put it. But Bartholomew is like the only past life of Glenn, or like future life of Vaen, that we have some information on, and I find it just intriguing enough to put him in neutral, to where like he obviously, is the one that mentors Victor, and the one that makes Victor, follow Glenn to like the ends of the earth and whatnot. So for that fact, he's kind of just like, yeah, he's just a character, nothing too much to talk about. Bathist or something like that. Bathas. He's another like neutral character in where it's just like, he wasn't really mainly put focus on, and because you're not really put focused on, and he doesn't really have any like memorable moments in my eyes. His child dying out isn't great, but it's not interesting enough for me to personally to care about, because it's just like, the Mystery Man is probably a bit more better, a bit more intriguing. I will say though, I don't get why he's helping Amelia out so much and trying to find a cure for Amelia, when he technically has other priorities, his priority being, that of the Church of Lenne, or however you pronounce it. Kylian is also neutral. There's gonna be a fair amount of neutral. Don't worry, we'll get there. We'll get with the other characters. But Kylian is also another neutral character, in where he's, again, just a character that's supposed to be there, and that's supposed to, like, kind of flesh out the world, but not really. He's Victor's friend, and he likes drinking, and I think that's fine, personally speaking. The one scene in where he gets stabbed, that's more on Victor's scene, so it's kind of like, just there, again. Not too much I can say about Kylian. Who is this guy? Daimbert? Daimbert's in this, like, it's pretty obvious why Daimbert's in this. Like, he experimented on, plants, and then monsters, and then he experimented on humans, because he wanted to find something about souls, or something about, regaining magical essence. He did bad things, and obviously tried to do it to Lenne. He obviously failed, so there's that. Egyl, or Eagle, I don't know, or Egg, I don't know how to pronounce his name, because I'm terrible at it. Gameplay-wise, I don't know what you want me to say about him, like, he's like a tank that wasn't really needed. It's like, okay, you're a tank, but like, I could just have people that actually do damage, or actually buff. I would say I didn't mind his eagerness, in where he like says a eagerness, or like you say the you know, the whatever. And then like the other word was like, oh, bravely, bravely, brave, and stuff like that. I didn't mind that speech pattern. But he doesn't really do too much, you know? Like, his whole tribe does die, but it's not like, it's not too, like, that for me, you know what I mean? Eva is also neutral, purely because she has a relationship with Senny, and when I mean relationship, I mean like the you know, wife and wife. What is that the best way to put it? I guess the best way to put it is they're married. Which is obviously intriguing, but it seems weird. I would say her memorable moment is obviously like backstabbing Watts. Is obviously her memorable moment, but it is intriguing why they, you know, added that. I mean, I don't mind it. I don't really care. That's the best way to put it. But yeah, she doesn't do too much outside of that to where she like does anything, to say the least. Frederik was unfortunate because he had such a good introduction, and I loved his introduction. I generally loved his introduction, in where he was like, you know, so my sister is the most honest person. So when you tried to kill her, you actually did try to kill her. Like, I find Frederik trusting Lenne. Oh, that was like such a high peak, and I really loved that scene about Frederik. Unfortunately, he doesn't redeem himself, and he keeps like going down, and just becomes a warmonger. And it's interesting in where I don't know, because obviously everyone's up to an interpretation, and it's just like, did he actively become a tyrant that tried to kill, like, basically everybody, so everyone had the one common enemy? Or did he realize he was too far deep and he just said, screw it, why not? It's hard to say, really, because, like, he does go, like, pretty crazy and not telling anyone about his quote-unquote plan of, like, being the tyrant and taking in all the hate. Obviously, Lenne, obviously for speaking, doesn't forgive him for this. So it's weird why I personally would have liked it if he, like leaned more or relied on Lenne. So it's a give or take. Did he do it because he was actually a warmonger and he knew he was going to lose? Or did he actually try to become the one tyrant? It's hard to say, personally speaking. Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot to do this at the beginning. Whatever, doesn't really matter. This is probably going to be the longest section. Glenn is probably the most boring character I could possibly have. Because Glenn was one of my favorite characters. He genuinely was, you know, like, he was one of my favorite characters. I loved seeing his story. I loved his interactions with Lenne, and I loved that we got the past, you know, type of video. I really loved the reveal of showing that he wasn't Timothy, but he was Vaen. I really loved that reveal, and I thought it was so good. And I thought there was genuinely no way. So for me, usually first impressions mean a lot, and Glenn had a pretty good first impression on me. So I'm like, as long as they keep doing what they're doing, they're going to stay like up there type of idea. And Glenn did. He stayed at the top of my favorites for like pretty much the whole game until the ending. And we all know it. There's several different interpretations, but the most forgiving one, I guess, is that he just gives up. And that just doesn't sit right with me. He just gives up. And if you really want to be more like bad about it, he unironically kills himself. Like, unironically, he genuinely just kills himself. And it's just like that one act alone. I was on that emotional high. If you watched my VODs, then I obviously cried during the credits of Chained Echoes. But I was on that emotional high, 100%. And it's just like, looking back at it even more, it's even more contradictory. Because Glenn and Lenne had a conversation in where like Glenn's like, you have friends, you're an important part of us. And he's like, you know, don't give up, you know, and Lenne's even say, I have this journey, I have this mission, and I have to move forward. And while Lenne has enough courage, or, you know, yeah, pretty much has enough courage to keep on moving forward, Glenn doesn't. He sees his mission that Gwayn, like, entrusted him, and he said, nah, fam, I'm not having that. And he just gives up. And it's just so contradictory, because, like, the main reason I cried, the main reason I found it sad, was because none of the characters got closure, pretty much. The only one that got closure was, like, Kylian. But everybody else, Lenne, Victor, you know, Magnolia, none of those characters got closure, because Lenne literally just cuts himself off. And it's just, like, that's the main thing why I found it sad, because, like, it's just such a selfish decision. Where it's just so sad, because he genuinely speaking, Lenne would have been in favorites. But that one act alone, I can't put him, like, I genuinely have to put him in dislike. Because it's just so contradictory. Like, you're such a hypocrite. He says that you're supposed to keep on moving forward, but and it's just like, you can type it down in the comments, whatever you want. It's about redemption or whatnot. But, like, I don't care. Glenn, for all intents and purposes, was a coward at the last moment. And that's just something that does not sit right with me, because he does give up plenty of times, but he gets back up. This time, he gives up, and he doesn't get back up, because he literally can't. He literally unironically kills himself, and it's just like, yeah, I just can't. I genuinely just cannot. I cannot put him. It's so jarring, because it's so hypocritical to what he was. You're like, oh, he lived so many lives, but it's just like, okay, Lenne has also lived for thousands of years, you know? So it just seems so cowardly while you take the coward way out, and obviously Lenne has to deal with that, and that's the thing. That's what hurts me the most. Because, the three, slight spoilers, the three characters that I love the most, that are my favorites, they get impacted by this the most. You know, Glenn with Lenne, being able to, like, share past memories and whatnot, or sharing the same, of fate of having importance. Magnolia, I can never say her name right. You know, seeing that Glenn is like a terrific human being and whatnot. And then Victor. It's like, he doesn't say goodbye to Victor. The only reason he's still here, he just gives that all up. Like, but I feel the most bad for Victor, because it's just like, this person that you gave your life to just doesn't even have enough respect to say goodbye to you. Like, that's just no, you know what I mean? Like, how could you do that? How could you be so selfish in that moment? In just saying, nah, I'm done. You know, my journey it's come to an end, when everybody else's journey clearly had not come to an end. It's such a baffling, like, I don't want to say it's a writing decision, but I kind of want to say it's a writing decision. Because it just seems so weird, because literally like hours beforehand, maybe not even hours, like an hour beforehand, you had Glenn talk about Lenne and say, don't carry this alone, you're shutting people away at the moment. And it's just like, that line alone just seems so, compared to this, it just seems so, it irks me. And like, that ending alone, like I said, like, you know, during my VOD or whatever, that this definitely was one of my favorites. It's definitely not. Like, looking back at it and having, like, be able to, like, collect some of my thoughts and have my mind fester, it's definitely still a good game, but it's definitely not one of my favorites, purely because of the ending. And it's just like, why? Why did Glenn have to do it? It literally, it genuinely makes, in my eyes, absolutely no sense why Glenn would do that. We'll get into more about Glenn when we get to Kylian. But yeah, Godfrey, he's a complete douche, obviously. He the complete power-hungry douche that deserves to die. and I think that's all to say. Gwayn is another interesting character though. I do like Gwayn, but I feel like he wasn't fully developed. My favorite scene probably about him would be his time in where he says he's not afraid of the gods, but he's afraid of time. I really like that aspect, especially after we find out that he's like the true king and whatnot. I will say though, one thing I find dumb though is why he allowed Kylian to stay alive. Like, again, I'll get a bit more into Kylian maybe later, but maybe this is also still part of Gwayn's plan. His epithet is literally called the Manipulator. So it seems, so maybe, just maybe, I don't think Gwayn is dumb enough to not realize Kylian is probably going to betray him if Gwayn literally like gives his powers to Glenn and not Kylian. I don't see in any world that Gwayn doesn't see that coming. But it kind of seems like he doesn't see it coming, even though he's literally the Manipulator. You know, that's his epithet. And it's just like, I feel like that's just another writing hole, in my opinion. It's just how it is. It's just another writing hole, which is just unfortunate. But that won't deter the fact of, like, I still like Gwayn, like, as a concept. Less of a character, but more of a concept is the best way to put it. Like, the reveal of him being, like, the 8th true king is really sick. And that he's been there for, like, a while. Really sick. Really like that part. But it just seemed weird. Again, it's mainly just the ending. The ending, in my eyes, just have so many flaws to it. Like, why would Gwayn give Glenn the power while Kylian is still there? It unironically makes no sense. June is a neutral. She's connected to Gwayn. We don't know how he's connected to Gwayn, and we don't know how old June is. June could also just be as old as Gwayn. Probably not, though. But she's just as powerful as Gwayn when it comes down to it. So it's like she's a mysterious character that never gets explained. But then she also gets reincarnated again and meets Kylian. So maybe she has a, maybe fate is playing with her. And she's always supposed to be connected with the 8th king, the Manipulator. To maybe keep him in check or just to have someone to bounce off of. Now, Kylian. When I was playing this game, I thought, damn, there's probably not, looking at this roster, there's probably not going to be anyone that I hate. Looking at the main cast, at least, and the characters we've interacted with so far, I think this is around Act 2 is when obviously Kylian betrays them. But it's just like, I didn't think anyone would reach the hate tier for this video game. Kylian proved me wrong. Oh my god, Kylian. I feel like the writers like Kylian. Best way to put it. And I don't like Kylian. And that's just how it's going to be. Kylian betrayed 3 times. He's literally just like a 3-time traitor. He betrays Glenn, he betrays the church, and he kind of betrays King Frederik, and then he obviously betrays Gwayn. And it's just like, what the fuck? Like, I genuinely hate Kylian because he's a character that, like, I'll be with you, is just forced into the plot. Some of these characters are not forced into the plot, or, like, they seem together. Kylian is the most, like, motherfucker who does not deserve to be here, is the best way to put it. Like, he betrays 3 times. People will stay like, oh yeah. And the more annoying part is that he gets the power of God, pretty much. You know, he betrayed 3 times. He literally killed thousands. And yes, he did kill thousands. He killed a whole church. He actively told King Frederik the information. And he literally, like, was the, what is it called? He was literally the catalyst for literally destroying an entire floating church. For crying out loud. He literally killed thousands of people. And he's rewarded with, and he betrayed every single time. He would get anything, he would do anything for power. Literally anything. Betraying his loyalty means nothing. and it's just, and he gets rewarded for it, and which is the most annoyingest part for me, and why I also hate the ending. This obviously goes with Glenn, in where he doesn't deserve Gwa's power. He literally just does not deserve Gwa's power, does not deserve the power of God, because he doesn't deserve Glenn's trust. But he is rewarded the most for it, for probably doing the worst. But aside from King Frederik, who probably, like, kill count wise probably did do the worst, but that's also maybe on Gwa's side, he, like, also killed thousands of people. And what's even more annoying is that, you know, he's given, like, Glenn, also this has to do with Glenn. Glenn's selfish because he said, I don't want this mission, you can have this mission. So he gives immortality pretty much to Kylian. And I feel like Kylian is an unstable person. We've seen it plenty of times. He is not a stable person. And I feel like unless he can give immortality to his sister, the moment his sister dies, he's going to go haywire. Because that's the only reason he's still doing this. I find his sister a scapegoat. I'll be real with you. I generally find Kylian's sister as a scapegoat, a straw man, as you say. Where, oh, I'm doing this for her. I'm gonna make a better world for her. Half of the world is dead. Like, half of the world is dead, and just because you said, oh, the world's a better place now, my sister can finally live in it. It's like, bro, what the fuck? That's not, no, you're just using her as a scapegoat. In my eyes, he is just using his sister as a scapegoat, literally. And it's just like, and what's even more, maybe even more annoying, that he gets rewarded even more, and that his sister miraculously wakes up. Either he used the powers that Gwa gave him, but it doesn't really look like it. It looks like she just woke up and he entered the room and he was obviously like crying or happy, you know, crying happy that she's finally awake. But I'm pretty sure Kylian's an unstable individual to where if his sister does die, then he's just gonna go haywire, which is like not something you fucking want in my eyes. It's just like, I feel like the write-up, technically it is only write-up, because I actually found out only one person made this game. Good on them, but like, why would you make like the most heinous person be rewarded the most, you know, other than unless you literally just like them. And here's the thing, I didn't even care about Kylian afterwards. I'll be with you, the moment he betrayed Lenne and Glenn, I did not care for Kylian. My respect for him went absolutely down the drain, because I don't have respect for those type of characters. Unless there's another double agent, but he clearly, well, he was a double agent just for someone else. But yeah, Kylian, I just hate him. I genuinely just hate him, and it's just so absurd. I generally didn't think that'd be a character that I would hate, but you proved me wrong with Kylian somehow. But let us sort it up. I know I've been pretty negative this whole time. But let us go to my favorite character, the one that kept at the top, Lenne. Lenne was my favorite character. Also, I found out, yes, her name's actually pronounced Len, but I'm going to keep saying Lenne because I don't care now, because that's how I named her. But yeah, Lenne, it was with Lenne and Glenn. They were more of a dynamic duo, is the best way to put it. In a way, I know both of them were obviously the two main MCs. But it's just like, so they had a nice dynamic. So that's why I like both of them. But then Glenn did, you know, what he did, and then he dropped down. So now it was just, unfortunately, just Lenne. So she does lose a little bit because of Glenn. She doesn't lose her favorite status, because she is still just such, like, a nice character. And a part of it probably does, a part of it does have to do with gameplay. I did find her gameplay. She was my carry, like, you know, for most of the game, because, you know, I just liked her. She's probably a lot of people's carry at the end of the day. But it was just so nice. Oh, wow. I was so high on disliking Glenn that I didn't even talk about his gameplay. That's so funny. But yeah, honestly, you know that water jump, oh, clean. Her ultra move, so clean. A part of it does have to do with her animations, obviously. But her character is actually, it's nice for me. You know, it's a nice character. It's a nice character. Not arc, but it's a nice character personality. And her animations, were fluid, and I know she had an involvement, but a decent amount of it does obviously have to do with biasness of just saying I genuinely just like Lenne. I can't really specifically put it because she doesn't, in my eyes, have like a really specific moment that makes her stand out. It was kind of just overall, she was kind of good, and I might have to low-key be honest and say a decent amount of it's probably just because of her gameplay wise, but especially with a tier list that's quote-unquote based on characters and the personalities, I kind of say that, but it's really just based on characters. So them being useful to me and liking their cool animations, just get up there because of it. And now we get to back though. I'm never able to pronounce the name right. I think it's Magnolia. I'm gonna say that. Let's just move on. Magnolia, I did not do her justice. I genuinely do not think I did her justice. I think she's probably the most compassionate character in this game. By far is probably the most compassionate character because all of her lines and all of her actions are meant to help people, and that obviously I like that, and I don't do her justice because I didn't know because whenever I read text, I don't know what their personality is or how they're supposed to present themselves, and I feel like Magnolia is the most one that I do not do her justice. Straight up, I do not do her justice. But I find it I forget the line because it's so long, but it's me, the great Dividaria or something like that, the great diva, something like that. And it's I really do like that. I think she's very kind, she's very compassionate. She's like the definition of giving everyone a chance type of audio. Even the most bad people, she would make more sense to maybe forgive Kylian or to heal out Kylian because she's the one that does it the most. But yeah, I probably put her lower, but I know the concept of her, or I know the idea of her being the most compassionate by far, and obviously I hate it how you get her in super late in the game. But personally speaking, I think she has a pretty good kit as well. Whenever I saw that X card, because her gimmick obviously is, she picks a number 1 through 10. And whenever I saw that X, meaning 10 for Romeo numerals, oh man, that was such a clean sleep, and I love that about her as well. I've just, a lot of people put her at F tier. She's not F tier. I think she's a fantastic character. I think she's actually a good character if you build her right. I built her crit because I was bored, but yeah, that's besides the point. I don't do her justice, but even if I don't do her justice, she does still, in my eyes, deserves to be in the favorite tiers because I feel like if she was put more effort or more screen time, I feel like she would have definitely been up there because she's just such a good character, and a character type that I like, and I know I don't do her justice. Simply put, I don't do her justice. I don't think the game does her justice because we have 2 interactions between her, and you get her so late in the game. It's so unfortunate. I would have loved to see more, more of the group dynamic with her, but unfortunately we don't because she's also an optional side character, so there isn't too much interactions, and that's just so unfortunate. But I cannot not put her in favorite tier because she's just Oh man, I loved it. Yeah, what was her name? Malia? Yeah, Malia. She goes a dislike. She obviously attempts to kill Lenne 2 times, which is like okay, and actually technically succeeds on killing one of them. The so yeah, it's like oof to say the least. She's purely here dislike obviously because she killed, you know, one of my favorite characters, so you know that's kind of just how it happens. But she also is a bit hypocritical in what I don't like, in where she obviously somewhat, you know, cares, I put that in quotation marks, cares about Lenne or felt hurt when Lenne betrayed them and whatnot. But it's just like, okay, but did you have to try to kill her for that, IMO? Like, your loyalty is obviously to King Frederik, but clearly you were hurt by being, you know, like, the Valkyrie. So probably you looked up to Lenne because she was, like, the highest ranking Valkyrie at that moment before Lenne obviously, got away from the royal family. But you're like, yeah, I looked up to you, but it's just like, I don't like that, because it's like, okay, but clearly also King Frederik at that moment is kind of going mad, IMO, so it makes, in my sense, it makes no sense for Malia to die, or to, quote-unquote, feel bad or wanting to kill Lenne because she, like, betrayed them and whatnot. So that's probably why Malia is down there. What was your name? Markas? Nah, okay. I think Markas was in dislike. Honestly, he would probably be in no opinion. Because I don't really have too much to say about him, to say the least. Because Markas is just a character that's there for, like, setup for the next game, I guess, is the best way to put it. Because he doesn't really do much, you know what I mean? Like, he's bringing out the Harbinger, but we don't really know it. I mean, you know what, Markas, you get to be in no opinion, because I generally don't care about you actually thinking about it. Oh well. The Masked Man, we don't get a actual definition of his name, but the Masked Man is going in love. I loved the Masked Man, and I wish, again, we got to see more interactions with him. The personality, or like the attitude that I gave him was like that cheeky prankster, you know, like it's time, you know, it takes a lot to change fate, you know. I gave him more like funny or like mischievous personality, and that's probably why I like him more, because I gave him like that such that fun attitude, or like an attitude that I find fun. So that's probably obviously slightly because of it. But it's just like he's like kind of that mysterious character, that mysterious fun character that just says, ho ho ho, I will give you a curse if you give me something in return. You know, it's just he's just such a mysterious and fascinating character that I generally love him for that, because he's like, ooh, I love him, you know. And I wish there was more screen time with him. But I find him a very fun character, to say the least. Mayton's going in dislike, again, purely for the fact of, like, he tries to kill Lenne. You try to kill my favorite character, you're just gonna go down there because I'm biased. He's kind of another character in where he pledged loyalty to Frederik, and I guess he's just too blindsided to, like, see the truth, or he doesn't care to see the truth and whatnot. So yeah, Michaela, or I think her name was Michaela. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Michaela. Sorry, Michaela. I didn't use her, like, at all. Like, gameplay wise, I didn't use her at all. And I found her story with Tomke to be, I wouldn't say boring, but like not mine. I wasn't interested in their story pretty much. In where like, oh yeah, it's there, but yeah, she's literally only in neutral purely because she's like part of the main crew, which is why the only reason she gets neutral to you. Genuinely speaking. But yeah, Norgant. Some people might find this interesting. Norgant, I like him. I like him because he genuinely is the definition of just mercenary. You know, he was genuinely the definition of just mercenary, where he's like, oh, you're not here to try to take our profits. If so, something might happen to you, type of audio. When he was dealing with like the bandits, so like, okay, that's kind of nice. And then obviously when he like, you know, make amends, like, oh, you want the Cephas armor? Just buy it. I genuinely don't care. Like, just buy. We found it, legally speaking, so we will legally, happily sell it to you. And obviously, you know, we do buy it from him. So yeah. Oh, that's another thing about Glenn's like, quote unquote, like likeness or liking Sky Arts or Sky Armor. Yeah, that kind of thrown out the window too. Whatever. The Raphael. I also like Raphael. I liked him when he had his mask on. You know how some people are like, I like it. The mask stays on. He was a pretty cool character when he wasn't part of our group, or what he didn't want, or what he didn't have, like, when he wasn't depressed. He was a cool character when he wasn't depressed. Because obviously the church was literally wiped out. So obviously he's depressed because his life meaning is literally destroyed. So I get why he was depressed. But let's talk about the better part. Let's talk about the parts I actually liked about him. I liked the part in where, I think it was twice, in where he obviously like defended the group from like the big bad. He defended the group from like the demon in the church. I found that really cool scene. And then obviously he defended Sienna, I think, when it came to Godfrey. So just those two interactions, I'm like, I like those. Those are some cool moments. Robb, he probably doesn't deserve this, but he's going in dislike purely because his kit sucks. I'm sorry. I personally hated Robb's kit. There's just the best way to put it. I genuinely hated Robb's kit. I found his kit absolutely worthless, and him having like the least amount of HP or survivability did not help its case. There's times, so I had him paired with Lenne because why the hell not? I guess it's supposed to make sense. But genuinely, like, there's times where like I would switch him out because I would be in overdrive. So I'd be in overheat. So I had to get back to overdrive. So I would switch back to him, and I kid you not, he literally dies before I could switch back to Lenne. That was some of the most annoyingest stuff ever. He literally does no damage, and you people say, oh, he's meant to spread like what are the debuffs or whatever, or ailments. I found the ailments probably the most useless mechanic in this game. Like, I had a sleep gen on Glenn here and there, and I'll be real with you, every single time it procced, I'm like, what does sleep do? Because it clearly doesn't make them skip a turn, because they're literally taking a turn after I fucking sleep them. So I don't know what the fuck sleep did. And I didn't really bother with like the paralysis, or like the bleed or poison for the most part, because I'm just like, I genuinely do not care. I'm just going to apply other debuffs like dry or heavy, because I can see the impact that it does, because it increases, you know, like your magic water, your magic earth, you know, your magic fire type of thing. I could at least see and know what's happening. When I see that sleep is applied and nothing fucking happens, I'm like, okay, what am I even doing with my life? What the fuck? Robb probably doesn't deserve to be in dislike. He probably genuinely doesn't. If I was less biased, he'd probably be in neutral. But his kit is just so motherfucking bad that I have to put him in dislike. His kit's so bad. But for the complete opposite of Robb, Senny, I don't know if it's Senny, I'm just gonna say Senny, be mad. Senny goes in like purely because of her kit. I didn't like the thief. I didn't like her like thief personality per se. I wouldn't say she puts on a two-face. I just didn't like her personality, well, when it comes to like thievery type of ordeal. But her kit was just 2 was just too good. You know, her crit build was just too good for me not to like it. Like whenever, you know, just that. Man, it was just too clean. Like I cannot not put her in like, because her kit was just so clean. It was so clean. Timothy is an interesting one. Timothy's in dislike because of his concept, not because of his character, but as a concept. And he's also, at the end of the day, underdeveloped. Like, he's generally underdeveloped. His role is literally being HO Suisse. Oh, I don't have HO Suisse. That's kind of funny. Actually, no, I put him in Don't Care. That's funny. You know what? I'm actually gonna put HO Suisse up there. But Timothy is pretty much like, as a concept, he's generally only here to be like a red herring for Vaen, is basically the best way to put it. Like, he loves Lenne, and Lenne, technically HO3. He loves HO3, and HO3 loves Timothy. The romance isn't really fleshed out, and like, as a concept, I don't like Timothy, not because he's a red herring, not because he's literally only there to be the love interest of HO3, but mainly that. No, I guess it is those reasons why I don't really like Timothy. It's because of his thing. He's not. He just doesn't put. He's just not. He's put in a place of importance when it really isn't needed. Which is probably why I hate Kylian so much. But yeah, Kylian is only here for a concept, and not because I actually hate Timothy, but I just hate Timothy like as a concept, of where like your only role is like being in love with like HO3 type of ordeal and making conflict. HO3 probably is honestly going in no opinion. I think. Nah, you know what? Nah, I'll talk about her later. But I generally don't really have too much opinion about HO3, actually. Yeah, what am I saying? Of course, I don't have any opinion about her. Tomke is also going in neutral. His kit, again, I don't think he was a kit. Half of his abilities were like buffs, and then another half were like magic abilities, and another one were like physical abilities. So it's just like, I don't really know like what archetype Tomke was supposed to be in, pretty much. So I didn't really use him, and again, I didn't really care for his, what are they called again? Not side story. I guess it's called side story. Yeah, I didn't really care for his side story either. Oh, it's not story. I guess it's just story. I didn't really care for the story. I guess the best way to put it. So yeah, the Vaen, or the Vaen, I generally would not have put the Vaen on here, but they do have a portrait. And in doing so, they get to be on this tier list. The Vaen is going in neutral because they're an interesting bunch. I think at the end of the day, they are, relatively speaking, just there to be like the bad presence. That's not the harbinger for the most part, I think. And it's for that reason where it's just like, they do their job. Like, they are basically just the antagonist, or like the person to point the sword that the protagonist can point their swords to. And I think for thatness, I think the Vaen are perfectly fine. I don't really care for like their greediness. Obviously, they like destroyed humanity over and over and over again, which is like, okay, they're clueless. But it's just like, they don't have too much of a personality to hate or love, is the best way to put it. They had some interesting lines, but they weren't notable enough for me to have any like strong feelings about, for the most part. The Vaen is going in dislike. Again, I don't think I need to explain why. Vaen obviously kills Lenne. Pretty simple, you know, he's a bad person. It's implied that he drinks a lot as well. So yeah, I do find it interesting how he thought he was Timothy, or at least his echo, like, pulled a prank on Glenn, thinking that he was Timothy. I do like that. But obviously, you know, Vaen is meant to be written as a bad character, so, and, you know, I obviously don't like that. There's nothing wrong with not liking a character that's supposed to be written as a bad guy. I think there's nothing wrong with that. Oh man, we're so close. We're so close. At least in my eyes, we're close. Victor is probably, again, is someone that is in my favorites, but he doesn't deserve the pain that Glenn is puts him through, is the best way to put it. And that, again, if you're looking at this tier, you can see why I don't like Glenn, or why I found the ending so sad. Because the three characters that I love the most, or probably eventually got impacted the most by Glenn just giving up. But Victor, he's like the biggest wingman, like genuinely the biggest wingman. You know, Bartholomew did like one small act, and like Victor said, "I will ride or die with you." You know, it's just like that was so good. And he obviously has compassion for other characters. You know, like when Kylian, you know, got like more seriously injured, Victor immediately paid it back by stabbing the stabber. And obviously his compassion towards, you know, Kylian was nice. But then obviously his loyalty towards Glenn was also really nice. And it's just sad and just so disrespectful in why, you know, Glenn would just say, "Ha, you know, relation that we had, posh, doesn't matter." And it's just like, but yeah, and I did like his shush. Again, Victor is another character where I don't do complete justice with him, but I think he's still a nice character that deserves to be my favorites, because also, you know, being the buffer of my team, you know, he kind of just deserves to be that. A bit of it obviously has to do with gameplay. He was just that good old reliable buffer, getting that poetic march, you know, every single turn type of deal, and then applying that dry for my Lenne to clean up with that water jump. And then, you know, sometimes helping with like that water and fire resistance down. Just, so clean. I loved it. He obviously a little bit less flashy than my DPS, but you know, my DPS would have been nothing without him either, so that's why he's also in my favorites. But yeah, that's pretty much all the characters that I could care about, or that I want to talk about, or that I could, and that I want and could, relatively speaking, talk about, that had enough screen time. The rest of these characters, I'll be real with you, I generally either have no opinion about because they're on screen time for too little, or they don't do anything impactful to where I don't care, pretty much. Type of deal. I would usually run by them, like one by one, on like what I think about them. But I think for time's sake, I don't really care, so I'm just going to do this. Glenn is but yeah, Glenn's going in dislike, because I have to. And then Markas, whatever, Markas can say that, I don't really care. But yeah, this is like my actual like order. Like this wasn't in order, this is in order. From my most favorite to like my least favorite type of ordeal. I would say now, there generally isn't any notable character that I care about here. There generally isn't any notable character that in no opinion or don't care, because it's just like what I generally like. They have like tools to like one panel, and what am I supposed to think about? I generally don't care about. I generally don't care. Might seem rude, but I generally don't care about characters that are literally only there to like move the plot forward. Most of these characters are only here to move the plot forward, or to be like an obstacle, and it's for that factor to where it's just like, yeah, I don't really care, to say the least. But yeah, that's it for this one. Oh my god, it's so long, man. Clearly, so long. I like the characters. I think I think I'm gonna talk about mainly like about like relatively the game now, like overally speaking, clueless. It was a fun game, but the ending really did sour it for me. Is the best way to put it. Like the ending really did sour it for me because it's just like, you know, also, do you wanna, okay, also, you know, some people can't see it, there you go, it's like, you know, I'm in the way for like 2 characters, no one cares about those 2 characters, trust me, you're not missing much. I'm not blocking the two important characters that are not care. But yeah, I think the game was definitely fun. The ending spoiled it for me. I think looking back on it, after getting off of that emotional high, it still was a fun game, but it definitely is not my favorite game, to say the least. Because it's nothing, it wasn't like Tears of Joy and whatnot, or like even like Tears of like appreciation. It was just Tears of sadness, because just like I genuinely felt bad. And Glenn genuinely did not need to kill himself. But I was definitely on that emotional high, while obviously when I said that statement, which is obviously fine, you know. I think having it like that, having it like that is perfectly fine in my opinion. I think there's a beauty in that type of ordeal. But yeah, probably gonna play a shorter game next time. Well, no, am I? Yeah, I am playing a shorter game. Don't want to spoil it, but yeah, I already have a game. I have to edit I still have to edit this, or edit these videos, or edit chained echoes, so that might take a hot second. I hope it doesn't take too long. I really hope it doesn't, but it probably will. But yeah, I don't know if anyone would watch these tier lists, but I want to keep on making them because I still like talking about characters. But yeah, if you watch this far, hey, thanks for watching this far. If you want to type in the comments how much, like, I'm wrong, or how much say that, you know, that Glenn did the right thing, clueless, then go ahead, type in the comments. I don't care. See you for now, though.